Wake of the deadly fire at an assisted living facility in Fall River, Governor Maura Healey has announced immediate measures to enhance safety in those centers.
Western Mass News reporter Madison Lasowski joining us now this evening in studio with more on both the governor and the state's response. Madison?
Yeah, Chris and Amanda, Governor Healey describes this opportunity as a, quote, moment to make sure every single assisted living resident is prepared to respond to emergencies and to protect the safety of their residents. This all comes just 2 weeks after the Gabriel House assisted living facility burst into flames in Fall River, taking the lives of at least 10 and injuring over 30 others. The 100-unit facility had not been inspected since October of 2023. This, according to a report from the State Executive Office of Elder Affairs. That same report citing the facility for 7 deficiencies, 4 of which were repeat issues. However, inspection reports by the city's Bureau of Fire Investigation identified no problems with sprinkler systems, fire extinguishers, exit doors, or general housekeeping at the Gabriel House. The union's general president, Ed Kelly, however, pointing out the city's dangerously understaffed department at the time.
Last night, had they been staffed properly up to national standards, there would have been 8 more firefighters effecting rescues here last night. There's no doubt that would have made a difference.
So here's where Governor Healey comes in. The governor now taking, quote, immediate measures to assure that all 273 Massachusetts assisted living residences are in compliance with all state regulations. The initiative is outlining that all ALRs must issue a letter to residents and families within 5 business days, outlining fire safety protocols, evacuation procedures, and key points of contact for questions or concerns. Additionally, ALRs are instructed to ensure evacuation instructions and exit routes are posted inside each residence's unit and in the common areas. But the regulations don't stop there. The Office of Aging and Independence will distribute a fire safety assessment survey that each facility must complete within 30 calendar days, reaffirming compliance with those fire safety requirements. Each current site-specific disaster and emergency plans must be submitted as well. The governor saying in a statement, quote, these proactive measures build on existing work and reflect the administration's commitment to transparency, accountability, and partnership with providers, municipalities, and families. Now, according to the governor, these proposed updates predate the Gabriel House fire, but will be reevaluated in that context to ensure they meet current safety expectations. And while the reserve at East Longmeadow, among many other facilities, were unable to talk with us on camera today, they did provide us a statement that reads, in part, we embrace the governor's new initiatives, which provide further support of our main mission to keep residents and associates safe. Also critical are our partnerships with local fire and public safety agencies, helping us to stay fully prepared and up to speed on ever-evolving technologies and safety protocols. Now, in the meantime, the district attorney's office is maintaining that the cause of the fire, quote, does not appear to be suspicious as it remains under investigation. Reporting live in studio, Madison Lasowski, Western Mass News.